Bunnies, welcome back. I'll see you Woodland Bunny, aka Space to talk books. Today I want to talk through the 24 books I want to read in the year of 2024. So let's get to my TBR for the year. I of course have 24 books to go through today because it's 24 and 24. 13 of them I own and are on my physical TBR in my library already. 11 of them I don't yet own and 2 of them are not yet out at the time of filming this. So I need to order 9 and pre-order 2. I'm just referencing my list down here, so if I'm looking down, then that's why. But beginning with Once Upon a Broken Heart, this one has been on my TBR for quite some time now, and I know in 2023 it got tremendous amounts of hype. I believe this is a part of a trilogy. I think this is the first book in a trilogy, or maybe it's just a duology, but I'm so intrigued. I don't really know anything about this book at all, but I feel like it's very fairy tale-esque, if I remember rightly, in which I'm beginning to love books that are very fairy tale-esque, so I'm intrigued by this one. Then next up we have A Game of Thrones, in which is one of the longest books I've had on my TBR. I've had it for years and years, and I just want this to be the year that I get to it. I am wanting to read the whole series. I've never watched the TV series, I've never read the books, and I just want to get immersed in fantasy this year, and of course that is one of the best books to do it so, because it's so popular, so beloved, and I'm hopeful that I'll enjoy it too. However, it is a mammoth of a read, so that's why I'm fingers crossed going to get to it this year. And then we have This Woven Kingdom, in which again I've had on my TBR for quite some time now. I believe it is YA fantasy. I am kind of pulling away from YA a little bit, but because I already own it, I want to still give it a shot, still want to try it and see maybe if it does rekindle my love for YA fantasy, because that would be good. And then next up we have a very highly popular beloved series, in which is the first book, Throne of Glass. Again, this has been on my TBR for years and years and years. I believe I read Throne of Glass so many years ago now that, to be honest, I can't even count it as a read because I don't remember anything, but I bought a special edition of it so many years ago because I actually got it quite cheap because it's really popular, and yeah, I bought a special edition without even meaning to, and just haven't got around to reading it, so hopefully 2024 is the year to do so. Then we have My Year of Rest and Relaxation, also with 𝐴ᴄ, I think it's called. These are 2 books by Atesha Moshfegh in which I'm really wanting to get to this year. I bought them both last year, or perhaps in 2022, because last year I got obsessed and loved unhinged, unreliable female narrators, and I feel like Atesha Moshfegh, from what I've been hearing, does that so well. So these are 2 books I'm really wanting to dive into in 2024, and I feel like all of Atesha Moshfegh's books are very unhinged and the concepts are just very extraordinary and out there, so I'm really excited to get to those. Then we have Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, in which was very highly acclaimed again in 2023. Was it released in 2023? I feel like it was, but it was a book that was absolutely everywhere, and that was one of the reasons why I bought it, because I was just hearing such good things about it. However, I think it's literary fiction, and I think it's about like 2 friends and video games, and I feel like I have to be in the right mood for something like that. I feel like genres like romance I can just pick up no matter what reading mood I'm in, but something like Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, I really need to be in the correct mindset to be reading. So yeah, hopefully the mood strikes me in 2024. I'm hopeful to do reading vlogs of reading my 24 and 2024 to hold me accountable, so fingers crossed we get to that one. Then we have the Darkest Shade of Magic trilogy. So Vicious by V. Schwab made it to my 2023 best books list, and so I'm wanting to get to the Darkest Shade of Magic trilogy because I loved that book so much, and I've had A Dark Shade of Magic on my shelf for years. I have both A Dark Shade of Magic and A Gathering of Shadows on my bookshelf, and I know that there's A Conjuring of Light that's currently on the books that I need to buy list, but yeah, I've had those 2 books on my shelf for years, and because I read and loved Vicious by V. Schwab, the writing was one of the main things that I adored about that book, so I'm really hopeful I'm going to like the rest of V. Schwab's work. And then also, once I've read that trilogy, it means I can then read Fragile Fragile Threads of Power, I think is the book that released the latter half of 2023. So yeah, I'm really intrigued to get into that universe and to experience V. Schwab's writing once again. And then in that same vein, because I loved Vicious so much, I really want to get to Vengeful. I am so awful at continuing on series and just being in the middle of series, and I know a lot of these books on my 24 and 24 are just because I've started them, and it is just me starting series, but I have a lot of actually second books, especially in this next row here, that I'm wanting to continue on these series. So continuing with Vengeful because Vicious was one of my favourite books of last year. In that same vein, Shadow of Night, I absolutely adored A Discovery of Witches last year. It was just so good and it felt like nostalgic fantasy to me. So Shadow of Night is definitely one I am excited to get to. Obviously all of these books I'm excited to get to, that's why they're on my 24 and 24 list. But similar with The Hunting Moon, I read The Luminaries last year, really enjoyed it, excited to get to the sequel. Then we have Two Twisted Crowns. I read One Dark Window last year, again really enjoyed it. The Hunting Moon and Two Twisted Crowns are one in which is quite new to the series, so I feel like the first book was only released last year or perhaps the year before, and these sequels have only just been released themselves. Bookshops and Bone Dust, and although this isn't continuing on with the series because apparently this is a prequel to Legends and Lattes, I still really want to get to this one. I loved Legends and Lattes, and I love everything about bookshops and cozy fantasy. So I really hope that this book is good. I have had mixed reviews about it, and I am so apprehensive and so scared to get to it. But I know that if I don't put it on this list, then I'll just put it off and procrastinate because I'm worrisome about whether I'll like it or not. I know that I wanted to get to it at the end of last year, but I just didn't get around to doing it because I honestly procrastinated because I am terrified I'm not going to enjoy it. But it's on this list, so I'm going to get to it. Then we have A Restless Truth, in which is second to A Marvelous Light, again read last year or perhaps the year before, I don't know, it feels like last year was so long, and absolutely loved it. So really wanting to get to A Restless Truth, and for the longest time I was waiting for it to be released, but it's definitely been out for a little bit now, so that's going to be one that I have to order. Then we have Blood and Honey, in which is the second installment in Serpent and Dove. This is one I've had on my TBR for such a long time. Read Serpent and Dove quite a few years ago now, had so much fun with it and ordered Blood and Honey straight away, but just never read it. So that's why the 2024 goal is reading a series and slash continuing series that I'm in the middle of, because I am such a stickler for beginning series and just not continuing on with them. So excited to get to that one. Next up, Book of Night by Holly Black. Read the Coral Prince series by Holly Black, read The Coldest Girl in Cold Town by Holly Black. Really enjoyed both of those sets, so excited to get to Book of Night, one that I've owned for quite a while. I think I've got an 𝐸𝐴𝐴 special edition of it. Yeah, so excited to read it. Fear of the Flames. I have seen a lot of hype about this one in comparison to Fourth Wing. Now, Fourth Wing is one that I haven't yet read either, but Fear of the Flames is also a dragon fantasy, and I've seen a lot of people who have disliked Fourth Wing have loved Fear of Flames. So I'm going to start with Fear of Flames because Fourth Wing is so hyped and everybody is talking about it, and so I want to support an author that doesn't have that much hype around and it isn't that well known. So I'm really interested and intrigued to see if I like Fear of Flames, and then perhaps if I like Fear of Flames and I like the dragons, then I'll continue on to Fourth Wing. Seven Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, again a book I've had on my TBR for absolute years. I believe it's a murder mystery type book. It gives me Agatha Christie vibes for some reason. I feel like that's probably something I've heard in the past about it and what made me want to pick this one up. But I got this in a charity shop quite some years ago now, and yeah, I just want to get to it because it's been on my TBR for so long, and I obviously have the goal of trying to read all of the books on my TBR. Then we have A Tempest of Tea, in which is one that hasn't released yet. It's releasing the 22nd of February, so I'm going to pre-order it, but I think this one is gothic and vampires and it has tea in the title, so what more could I want? And this is the author of We Hunt the Flame, again on my TBR, haven't yet read it, but yeah, I'm hopeful perhaps if I read this one then I might enjoy the author's writing and then continue on to We Hunt the Flame. But yeah, We Hunt the Flame isn't on any TBR as such at the moment, so yeah, excited for A Tempest of Tea. And then Hollow Heart is second to Midnight Lie, in which I read for the Bunnies book club pick in December and enjoyed, and the ending was such a cliffhanger, so I want to find out what happens next. Final book I want to get to in my 24 and 24 is You Me and the Nightmare Painter by Brandon Sanderson. This is another installment in his Secret Project books. I have now read Trust of the MLC, A Frugal Wizard's Handbook Guide to Surviving Medieval England, or something along those lines, and I think this is the third installment. You Me and the Nightmare Painter is like the third installment in that Secret Project series. But I adored Brandon Sanderson writing in both of those other two books that I mentioned and have read, so I'm really hopeful that if I complete all of his Secret Project books, then I can move on to his high fantasy. I think I'm going to start with Elantris is what it's called, in which it was his first ever book, but I need to do more research into where to even start with Brandon Sanderson in terms of the high fantasy realm. But for now I'm sticking with the Secret Project books because I've tried them, I've loved them, and they all seem to have this similar whimsical magical theme around them in which I'm absolutely enjoying. So yes, my friends, these are all of the books that I'm wanting to get to in 2024. These are almost like my non-negotiables for 2024. As you can tell, it's a lot of tackling series that I'm in the middle of because that is one of my 2024 reading goals. So we've got a lot of sequels in here, a lot of second installments in series or third installments in series, because yeah, I just want to get to my TBR. I want to continue series that I've enjoyed and loved and worlds that I know. Of course I'm going to try and keep up with new releases too and delve and experience new fresh things, but why not get to all of the books that I know I've read and loved and I've just sort of abandoned along the way because they deserve the love as much as all of the rest of the books. So I'd love to hear any books you want to get to in 2024. I'm always on the lookout for more recommendations, of course. So that is my 24 and 2024. I'm now going to go and order all of the books that I don't yet own, or I'm going to at least try and see how much Christmas money I've left to order them, and I'll keep you updated. You'll probably see a vlog from me reading all of these 24 books in 2024, and I'll probably do themed challenges to motivate me to continue with this goal. So yeah, that's the video, friends. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I hope that wherever you are and whatever you're doing, you have a wonderful day or night, and until next time, bye.